We'll call the Facilities Committee meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. And we'll go to agenda item 2, roll call.
Stephanie Olson,
Here.
David Pombo,
Here.
Jason Dixon,
Here.
Thorsten Harrison,
Here.
Ratan Kanthala,
Absent.
Siri Balajapali.
Here. Agenda item 3, receiving of public comments. Are any members of the public wanting to make a comment? Seeing none, we will move on to item 4, facility use update. Item A is the facility use minutes that are provided. Are there any questions or concerns about the minutes? Seeing none, we'll move on. Item B, finance report. Is there a staff report?
Yes. And I'm really excited about this finance report. The most excited I've been in a very, very long time because my assistant has used AI, Notebook LM, which we're training staff on, to create a graphic of the finance report. So it has nice little, if you look from left, I'm starting from the left, working around to the right. It has a nice total ending balance. It's got a graphic for that. It's got encumbrances up there. So it's got the nice summary of what the different numbers mean. And it's got the same chart that we always have that has all the balances for all the different school sites. It's got the encumbrance for Lammersville that's been on there for a while. And the notes on why the encumbrances are there. And then it actually identifies what an encumbrance is. It's really slick. So somebody that isn't familiar with what this page means, they've got everything all there on the one page if they want to understand it. So my assistant, Jen, made this, and she's very proud of it. So this is our finance report.
All right, any questions or comments?
Looks good.
Yeah, I like the visual.
A lot easier to look at, huh?
It's kind of like, following the example of the little placemat.
The infographic?
Infographic
Yes.
that we had, yeah.
Yes.
All right, moving on to item C, facility usage reports from 1/27/26 to 4/27/26. Staff report?
Okay, so same thing. This is kind of a new look to the report. And I like it better. It puts everything on one page and all the schools. And we used to have to scroll through, school to school, but this kind of, you can see everything at once. And it shows the usage times, and you can see where it starts early in the morning, around 6 a.m., ramps up after school there, 3 to 4 p.m., then starts to die off. I think it's telling. We do have events sometimes that are going to about 10 or 11 o'clock. So our school facilities are getting used about 18 hours out of the day. So that's a lot of use for the facilities. You can see the schools at the bottom there. Well, I'm sorry, over on the right, you can see how we define the tiers. They're color coded. The blue there is our tier 1, our school district, tier 1A, our district foundations such as PTAs and school foundations. Then the tier 2B, tier 2A and 2B, and then tier 2B nonprofits, tier 3. So when you look down here at the bottom there, you can see where Altamont, right now, the majority of our use in our schools for all of them is for our district. And then we have our tier 3 at Altamont, Costa, and Hanson, those areas. And then you can see where our tier 2 community partners, Lammersville and Wickland, and then the difference in how they're getting used there. Mountain House High School is over by itself here. 99% of that is all used for our district teams and various people.
Any questions or comments about the facilities usage report?
Nope, looks good.
It's good. All right, moving on to item D, denied applications. Staff report?
Okay, so we had 3 denied applications, and you can see there again, they're color coded. Reasons for denial. The first one was the room was not available to rent at that site. The second one there, the reason for denial was no students may submit the permits. So sometimes we have students that will submit their own permits, and we don't allow that. And then again, the third one there, the same thing, a student or a minor submitted a permit, and we denied that.
Very good. Any questions or comments? And I assume, the music room would nobody's renting music rooms anywhere because of the equipment that's stored there.
Correct.
In each one.
Correct.
Okay. And then moving on to item E, reimbursements to organizations. So staff report.
So we had two reimbursements. One was just the typical refund of a deposit, and then the other one was a refund. The 7029 there was just a refund of an overpayment.
Okay. Very good. I do like the visuals. They're it's really easy to just you see it right there. You don't have to kind of squeeze your eyes. Moving on to item V, information and discussion items. Item A, 2026-27 LUSD Facility Handbook Policy Update. Staff report.
So usually I go through this with the committee, and I update everybody on what changes we asked to be made this school year, and it's reflected in the handbook tonight. And then I take it to the next board meeting and to the full board. The full board approves the handbook, and then that's our standing handbook for the following school year. Tonight, Director Dixon is going to go through the changes in the handbook and review what we've changed for this year for the following school year. So fire away.
Okay. So in this handbook changes, we've got a few more changes than what we normally have. We tried to update quite a bit of things. So the first page, easy, it's just put the new dates on there and everything. As we go through this, page 6, if you want to go there, June. Wait, go back.
Page 5.
Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, page 5. Yes, you're right. I've got 2 pages on one.
There you go.
There we go. So what we did right here was the attachments are still there, but we just rearranged them a little bit, and then we added a couple of attachments for newer items that we have. So attachment A, we've made the insurance sample copy, and we did that because insurance is kind of a big deal right now, and we want to make sure that they turn in the right paperwork. And so nobody knew what that was, and so we put that in the book now so they can refer to it for what we need. Attachment B is rental fees and field use, and we'll go over that here in a minute. C is a check-in, clean, check-out form. Attachment D is a maximum occupancy chart. And then attachment E is a field type chart. And then we added attachment F is a banner fee schedule. So the banners that hang on our fences. Attachment G is the in-kind services form. And then attachment H is a new one. It's a field stripping fees or field striping fee schedule. Next page, page 6. Here on page 6, we took out this bottom line here. You can see we crossed it out, and we just sort of reworded right in here for the facility renters tier 2B and 3. They're required to pay the $200 security deposit, and just kind of goes over that. Down at the bottom, it's when an event exceeds 150 people, it's reviewed on a case-by-case basis for additional staffing, security, and equipment needs. So that was something new that we added there. Page 7. There's a short paragraph that's just reworded a little bit and then a little bit added there about organizations may not advertise their event prior to receiving approval. So we've had that issue before where they've advertised and then not got approval, and it was caused some problems. Once the permit's finalized and approved, they may begin the promotions of their event. And then down at the bottom there, this is what we talked about in our last facilities meeting when it comes to false calls for 911. So should any member, participant, guest, or attendee of an organization falsely call 911, unlawfully activate a fire alarm, or otherwise initiate a false emergency response while using district facilities, the organization will be held financially liable. This may include charges for any cost incurred in the district and responding emergency personnel, including law enforcement, fire, and medical responders. Such conduct may also result in suspension or revocation of future facility privileges. So that was added after an incident that happened. And it's in a couple pages later, we'll talk about it, but that also includes like when a fog machine, you're not supposed to have fog machines. When they set off a fire alarm, that includes that as well. So it's not just pulling a fire alarm or calling 911. Go to page 8. There we go. So this one here, they took out this bottom portion and just sort of moved it up to the top so it'd make more sense in location of where it's at. But it's the California Food and Agricultural Code, section 13186, and then it goes into explain that. All right, page 10. This is something that we made sure was in there is our QR code. It's a pretty new addition, but basically they're all around the district. Anybody can scan that. Any member of the public can scan it and report a facility's use. And then if something's wrong or leaking, water or anything like that, they can report that. We do get a lot of responses through that, so it does actually help us a lot on that. Page 11. All right, so this is where it talks about we added the smoke cannons and fog machines are not permitted. So what we're having issues with when they set those off, it would cause the fire alarm to go off, and then the fire department would show up. So we've added that, but that goes back to that first thing we talked about. Page 12. This one talks about cooking food and cooking and preparing foods strictly prohibited unless an LUSD food service worker is hired to supervise the work that includes any food service equipment. So we don't allow that or any kind of open flame, which you can see in the next line. That's only for internal LUSD organizations under approval. So we don't allow outside organizations to have any kind of cooking, propane or anything like that. All right, let's see. I'm going to skip a few pages here. All right, page 24, Jen. That's fine. All right, so on page 24, this is just a sample what our certificate of liability insurance looks like so that they know it's our first attachment. Next page, Jen. So then it starts going through our various attachments. Let's see here. Hold on. Page 32, Jen. All right. So this was probably our biggest change to the handbook, and it was our pricing. And we've talked about that in previous meetings. Our surrounding areas and comparable sites and facilities, we were well below those levels. And given the nature of inflation and prices going up over the past 10 years, we decided to address that and bring it up into a more modern time. And then but we still wanted to make sure that it was still available and that people could still afford it as well. So that's a fine line and a fine balance there, and I think we did a pretty good job with that. These were the changes that we have, and you can see where the classrooms, they go from $9.82 just to $15, and then based on your tier, $20 to $30. Outdoor basketball courts went from $5 to $10. So again, reasonable. Gyms went from 23 to 40 and then 45 to 80, depending on your tier. The NPRs and kitchens, 50 to 55 to 90, up from 35, 40, and $50. And then athletic fields went from $5 to $15. The K-8 quads went from $5 to $15, $20 for tier 3. Small gyms, $40 up from $28. $45 from 33, $100 for tier 3. Large gyms, $60, $70, and $100. Multi-purpose rooms, again, $40, $45, and then $100 for tier 3. Tier 1 and tier 2, you see there's no charges there. Those are our school district organizations, but then $45, $50, $120 for kitchens. Stadiums, $50, $170, and $200 for tier 3. And then stadium with the press box, $190, $220. Stadium lights, so lighting, $30, $50, and $50. And then tennis courts, $15, $20, $75. Swimming pools, $60, $75, $95. And then the quad at the high school, $10 and $15, $20 respectively. On page 33, yes. So if you look at custodial fees, so those didn't go up. We had already raised those fees previously. This $72 is a max fee that you would be paid based on our highest paid employee. So currently, as it stands, I think right now is probably about $60 or $65. So we're not up to that 72 yet. So I'll stay in touch with business office, and as things change, then we'll look at that again. But right now, we're currently meeting all our prices that we pay. And then large groups, 1,500 plus 1,500 people, and additional deposits. And this was for the garbage that we'd have to take out and the extra dumps, $250. And it's a deposit. If we don't use it, then we'll obviously refund that money. The high school theater, that didn't change. That's still the same right there, but that's the fees for our high school theater on page 34. And then go to page 36. These are just our check-in forms. You can go to page 38. Goes through our attachments. I'm sorry, where are we at? Did I miss one? So attachment D, the maximum occupancy chart. Okay, yes. So Pombo Elementary Schools will open to organizations outside organizations after 1 full year of operation. That's typical standard operating procedure. All our schools were done the same way. It gives us time to work out anything that might be wrong and fix it before they use it.
Let me interject real quick. The other thing about that is our fields maturing. We may want to consider a little bit longer for the fields after what we discovered at Costa and a little bit at Cordis. We may want to let our fields mature a little bit longer. So we may want to consider that next year when Pombo opens. So sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. And then page 41, Jim. Okay. So page 41 is our field striping fee schedule. So that is a new addition. And it's our last attachment there, attachment H. And then you can see the prices based on what they need for the field, which kind of field it is, football, soccer, baseball, various prices right there, and then how they want them marked off. So if they just want certain things done or add sideline hash marks, things like that, it adds a fee to it as well. And then there's the repaint, soccer, baseball fields and all that. Again, the pricing is included right there, and it just depends on what the organization is needing at the time. And that's all the changes.
And I'll add to that. This is dependent on staff, because if we have something big happening, let's say like the pipe burst at the high school this year, we had 3 staff on that for 3 days, and generally they're the same staff that line the field. So if there's a staffing issue, they will communicate with Jason and we'll let people know, hey, we can't line your field at this point, but we can maybe do it 2 days down the road when we have staff. So
Okay. And on the stadium rental with the stadium lights section, so if somebody if an organization is renting the stadium, and they're renting it for an evening, they would also check the stadium lights if they like. And is that kind of clear for them in the rental? Like, because I've never rented the stadium like that at night, so I
Yes. So if they rent the stadium after a certain time, and depends on the time of the year. So sometimes it doesn't get dark till 9, but sometimes at 6. So if it's going to be after dusk, then they pay for the stadium lights, per hour based on their tier schedule. So
okay.
it's just a safety thing.
Yeah, no. I mean, I just, I was just, envisioning someone like me, if I went and rented the stadium, I would maybe assume that the lights came with it. So it's good to know that that's just
Right.
embedded into the time frame.
Yeah, I had a follow-up question. You had a very good point there. So, with regards to not just the stadium, but also the gym, not the gym, the NPR, if it's rented, and during the event, like the light goes off, there's a light failure or a fan failure. These are real things that happen, right? So, who would be the responsible party for that? Maybe that is something to consider. If it's already addressed in the handbook, great. But if you're renting it for an evening, and to begin with it was good, but somewhere along the bulb went off. It's a regular thing. We don't know when it'll go off. So we want to consider that. It's not necessarily a damage, but it just goes off sometimes. So.
It's a case by case basis, because you never know what caused it. If it was something on their end that they kicked the ball into it or something, right? Just depends on what it was that happened. But if for some reason the power fails and they have like 2 hours left on their event, I mean, we've had instances where we then we'll refund that last hour or something like that. It just depends. We're considerate of those things. It sometimes happens and we can't control it, but we always have staff on site when they're using the facilities. That's a requirement. And that's what they pay for. And the staff is aware of how to fix things and do things and troubleshoot. So, typically they can fix it, but if not, then, depends on what it is, but we look into it.
Got it. Thank you so much.
And then this is just something that popped into my head as a question, because I actually got a phone call about this early in the fall when you talked about the fog machines. Like, there was a parent that actually reached out to me and said, help, the fire alarm's going off, and who do I talk to, and they were using a fog machine, but I think it was for a football game. And I see that says no fog machines at all. Does that include our student groups? Like, if the athletic director said, hey, for homecoming, we're going to let the football team run out in a fog machine, could the athletic director have that access, or is it blanket? Nobody?
No, our organizations, we can make exceptions, but we need to know about it ahead of time, because we can plan for it then.
Yeah.
It's when we can't plan for it and
well, and this person, I think, was setting it up inside the snack shack, which was probably, and it accidentally went off, but I mean, it went off. So, yeah.
But we've had that more than once, and it's not just the snack shack incident. It was we've had a lot of schools to do the same thing, and so we finally cut that out because it was causing that problem, that very problem.
Yeah, it's just really cool when you see the football players run out under it. So, but maybe we've
and
had
outside is fine.
Yeah,
totally fine.
We've had a lot of fog though this year, so we might not even need it. Are there any other questions or comments about the handbook?
None.
I think I just want to thank staff for all the work they did to come up with those prices, because I know some of the prices haven't been raised for many years, and some, like the pool, was newer, so their prices didn't need to go up as much, and just kind of figuring out that calculation and doing all that research took a lot of time. But I appreciate that, because I think it's a good direction to go. And then if there's no other questions or comments, we'll move on to item B, facility improvements. Total cost $41,991.67. Staff report.
So Altamont track it's time to resurface, reseal the track. There's some pooling of water. It's moved around a little bit, and I guess it's the same age as the high school, right? Altamont and the high school were built at the same time, so 12 years-ish, 11 years-ish. So it's time to resurface. And then the other item is the weather station at the high school. We use a wet bulb to test to make sure the temperature is okay for our athletes during the summertime. And as is required by CIF, the athletic director, who's here tonight, has asked for us to get a little better weather station so that we can get better data. Because some of our data is in Tracy, not necessarily here in Mountain House. So she would like us to have a better weather station so that we can inform all of our schools and all of our school sites and our high school sports what the temperature is, what the humidity is, and if it's okay for students to participate. So the cost is $5,944. So those are the two items that we're requesting tonight.
Okay. And does anybody have any comments or input? I think it's a great idea to have more accurate weather. That's always something that's kind of frustrating, I think, for anybody that tries to figure out sports temperatures is how hot is it really? Because you know, everybody has an opinion about it when you decide to not cancel or cancel a practice.
And then the resurfacing of the track will occur if it's approved by the board at the next meeting. That'll go during the summer, so it'll be closed for about 3 weeks for the resurfacing. So.
Okay. Moving on to item C, 2-year term facilities committee community member staff report.
So it's that time of year again. During the summer in July, we'll put together, Jen and I will put together the process for a new community member. Ratan has ended his service on the facilities committee, so we'll be electing a new member at the start of our new year next year. So we will get that all put together and forward that to the 2 board members to start that process.
Okay.
And I'd like to thank Ratan for his service on this committee. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item 6, future agenda topics and meeting dates. Item A, future agenda topics.
Well, we can't do water fill stations.
I was just thinking, where the heck is water fill stations on the agenda today?
It's been there forever. Well, if we come up with anything, we can add to the agenda. One thing that I would like to mention is the basketball court at the high school is going to need to be resurfaced more aggressively than, every year Jimmy puts on a new seal coat and whatnot. And a year and a half ago, we had a guy come out and clear off the material and repaint and put new material down. Probably next summer, we're a year from this summer, 27, we're going to have to sand that floor down and start fresh, lay down new material and start again. And that's going to be a bit of a cost, but I think it's legitimate to use facilities use fees to pay for that, because that place gets used a lot by the community. So I'm sure that'll be coming forward late next year with a quote, potentially maybe for next summer, not this summer, but in 27. So full layout design, we'll bring that forward so that, everybody can see what it's going to look like. And we'll make sure we have the right color blue and, all that good stuff. So I think that is something that will need to be on the agenda for late next year. So next school year.
Okay. Anybody else have any agenda topics they want to recommend at this time?
Can't think of anything.
And when you think of something, just contact Deputy Superintendent Harrison, and that can get added to agenda items. All right. Item B, 2026, 2027 meeting dates.
So we have meeting dates that are commensurate with the dates we had this year and dates we had last year. We have that extra one as needed that we added a couple years ago. So if there's any problem with any of those dates, please let us know and we'll make a pivot to meet everybody's needs. But they basically align with what we did this year with the calendar. So,
Right.
all right.
Thank you. Well, then we will adjourn at 7:00 p.m.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.